Japan Journal with Mal Adams. Facts, courage, no apologies.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Japan Journal. I'm your host, Mal Adams. There comes a time when a nation's covenant is tested by fire. America now stands at such a crossroads. The shocking assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk has shaken the foundations of the political right, sparking grief, outrage, and a storm of rumor and recrimination. Yet beyond the tragedy lies a deeper story of swelling political violence, of assaults on constitutional rights, of division within the MAGA House, and of turmoil that stretches from Washington to Tel Aviv. This is not a time for sentimentality nor for scapegoating. It is a time for sober analysis, for the prophetic voice that discerns truth from lie, rumor from fact, faith from fear. For when grief is politicized, when tragedy is weaponized, when liberty itself is called into question, we must call the people back to first principles: justice, dignity, and freedom of conscience. In this special report, we will cut through the noise to reveal the fracture lines: candor about foreign influence, clarity about intelligence intrigue, accountability for rising violence, and courage to defend the Constitution. This is the real story corporate media will not package with efficacy, objectivity, and integrity, but Japan Journal will. Coming at you right now. Stay tapped in.
From GNN, the Global News Network, a division of Totown Communications Company Japan. Japan Journal. With Mal Adams. A Black Buddha Productions joint, of Japan. And now, your host, Malcolm W. Adams.
Charlie Kirk was gunned down on September 10, 2025 at Utah Valley University. The suspect, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, was arrested at the scene. Court filings and investigators' notes suggest Robinson had become consumed with hostility toward Kirk's rhetoric, especially his statements about LGBTQ communities. His texts reportedly revealed planning within days of the crime. What we know is this: Robinson is charged with first-degree murder. What we do not know and must not pretend to know is whether any broader plot or conspiracy was behind it. Authorities say Robinson acted alone. That is the sober record. Yet, even before the ink dried on the arrest report, opportunists seized the moment to spin narratives, weaponize grief, and assign blame. Some sought to link the killing to Kirk's evolving views on Israel. Others whispered of donor pressure or foreign intelligence. In the vacuum of transparency, rumor rushed in. Political violence in America is not new, but what makes this moment uniquely dangerous is the marriage of bloodshed and conspiracy. For when violence meets secrecy, democracy trembles. The prophetic call is to name evil where it is evident and resist fabricating it where it is not. The death of Charlie Kirk must be grieved for what it is: the loss of a life, the eruption of rage into murder. That is enough. Anything more must be proven, not presumed. Within hours, social media lit up like a wildfire. Hashtags accusing Mossad, deep state actors, and Jewish donors trended across far-right platforms. The Wall Street Journal documented the flood of conspiracy theories that engulfed the digital landscape. The Los Angeles Times warned that anti-Semitic tropes were metastasizing online. This is the danger of the digital age. The absence of evidence becomes the breeding ground of speculation. Rumor is retweeted into reality. Fiction masquerades as fact, and millions consume narratives with no receipts. For Black folk, this is familiar terrain. We know how lies can be weaponized against us, how myths of criminality and subversion have justified lynchings and redlining. We must not repeat those sins against another people. To critique Zionism is not to demonize Judaism. To expose lobbying is not to scapegoat a people. Truth is sharper than that. Corporate media, for its part, floundered. Some outlets tried to debunk without repeating. Others repeated in order to debunk, amplifying the very rumors they sought to extinguish. The result, confusion, mistrust, polarization. The lesson is plain. Transparency is the antidote to rumor. But when institutions hide, when leaders equivocate, the void is filled with dangerous imagination. Enter Candace Owens, firebrand commentator who alleged that Kirk had been subjected to an intervention in the Hamptons by billionaire Bill Ackman and pro-Israel allies. She claimed threats were made, that donors pulled funding from Turning Point USA, and demanded their names be stripped from a TPUSA building only to reinstate them after his death. Now, these are extraordinary claims, but they remain unverified. Owens provides no receipts, only testimony and unnamed sources. Yet her narrative struck a chord among populists who distrust elite donors and resent what they see as foreign influence over American politics. Owens's accusations are not new in kind. Populist movements have long painted donors as puppet masters. What is new is the target. Pro-Israel billionaires who, untouchable in conservative politics, now openly accused of coercion. The implications are profound. If true, it would mark a turning point in how conservative activists navigate donor influence. If false, it risks poisoning discourse with conspiracy and anti-Semitic tropes. Either way, the fact that such claims gain traction signals shifting sands beneath the MAGA movement. For analysts, the point is not whether Owens is right, but that her voice resonates with a growing base of suspicion. That resonance itself is news. Ackman responded with fury. He flatly denied ever threatening Kirk, conditioning donations, or staging any intervention. He even released text exchanges to prove his limited, cordial interactions with Kirk never happened, he said. Others present at the alleged meeting corroborated Ackman's version. To them, Owens' story is not revelation, but fabrication. They accused her of fueling dangerous conspiracy for clout. This is the billionaire versus the populist. Both claim credibility, both command audiences, both insist the other is reckless, and the public, starved of documentation, is left to choose whom to believe. Well, this is the tragedy of our age, isn't it? Truth reduced to tribal allegiance. Receipts matter less than rhetoric, evidence less than emotion. Each side hardens, each base entrenches, but the prophetic voice insists. Truth must be proven, not presumed, y'all. If receipts exist, produce them. If not, cease accusing. For false witness corrodes justice as surely as violence. Then came Tucker Carlson. Speaking from his pulpit of populism, Carlson declared that Kirk did not like Netanyahu and was appalled by what was happening in Gaza. Carlson further accused political leaders and foreign heads of state of using Kirk's death to advance their own agendas. Here lies another fracture line. Carlson is no marginal voice. He speaks to millions. His testimony gives weight to claims that Kirk was cooling toward Israel, critical of its policies and weary of donor expectations. Carlson's unique critique of opportunism also cuts deep. He sees the reactions to Kirk's murder not just grief, but exploitation, a scramble to bend blood into talking points that he argues dishonors the dead. Carlson's intervention contrasts sharply with Netanyahu's effusive praise, where the Israeli prime minister lauded Kirk as a steadfast friend. Carlson painted him as a troubled ally, increasingly uneasy. Two portraits, two narratives, two competing truths. This is the essence of fracture. Allies diverge, stories conflict, loyalty frays. In the gap between Carlson and Netanyahu lies the story of a movement in disarray. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu released a video within days of the assassination. He condemned rumors of Israeli involvement as insane lies, invoked Goebbels' big lie doctrine, and declared Israel did not kill Charlie Kirk. He praised Kirk as a lion-hearted friend of Israel, even quoting a private letter Kirk had written months earlier, affirming his support for the Holy Land. Netanyahu's message: loyalty, friendship, covenant. Critics saw something else. They accused Netanyahu of politicizing tragedy, overstating closeness, and inserting himself into America's domestic crisis for strategic gain. Tucker Carlson specifically criticized foreign leaders using Kirk's death for their cause. The timing, the rhetoric, the overpraise, it all raised suspicion. For when denial comes so forcefully, it risks amplifying the very rumor that it seeks to suppress. This is the paradox of propaganda. The more you insist, the less you persuade. Truth does not need overkill, it needs receipts. Reports from outlets like The Gray Zone and Q's News allege that Kirk rejected a $2 million infusion of funds tied to Israeli allies. According to unnamed sources, Kirk was uneasy about being beholden to Zionist money. He wanted independence, not strings. These reports remain unverified. There are no public documents, no donor records confirming the sum. Yet the story persists, fed by insiders who insist Kirk was distancing himself. Publicly, Kirk remained pro-Israel, affirming scriptural land rights, warning against anti-Semitism. But privately, he may have been more cautious, more critical, more unwilling to sell his independence. Netanyahu's posthumous praise then may have been overstated. Critics suggest it was less remembrance and more reclamation, an effort to bind Kirk's legacy to Israel despite emerging distance. The prophetic call is to separate fact from rumor, love from leverage. Friendship must be measured not by speeches, but by receipts. So let's talk about political violence and constitutional rights. In the wake of Kirk's murder, the White House declared a campaign against consequence culture, warning of penalties for media that incite violence. Senior officials spoke of legal consequences, funding withdrawals, and censorship. Over 100 nonprofits pushed back, warning of a chilling effect on free speech. They argued that grief must not become the pretext for gagging dissent. This is the assault on constitutional rights. The First Amendment is not fragile porcelain to be shelved in times of crisis. It is the shield that guards liberty precisely when emotions run high. MAGA elites split again. Some cheered the crackdown, eager to silence critics. Others warned that today's censorship against one faction becomes tomorrow's censorship against them. The prophetic voice declares defend liberty when it is hardest, or lose it forever. For if the state can punish ugly words today, it can punish righteous words tomorrow. The name Jeffrey Epstein resurfaces whenever secrecy, sex, and power collide. Rumors abound that Epstein was a Mossad asset, that his island was a honeypot blackmail operation, that his network entrapped the powerful. Business Insider reports that no such evidence appears in the seized Epstein files. Former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett insists with 100% certainty that Epstein had no Mossad ties. But Epstein's business links with Ehud Barak and others keep the suspicion alive. Secrecy is the mother of conspiracy. When documents are sealed, when names are redacted, when transparency is denied, the void fills with imagination. Trump's base, too, suspects concealment. Polls show 69% believe Epstein's details are hidden. Trump calls them weaklings, dismisses the issue as boring. His words deepen mistrust. The prophetic lesson? Secrecy breeds suspicion. Suspicion breeds division. Division breeds downfall. Truth is the only disinfected. The MAGA movement, once monolithic, is now a house divided. At turning point conferences, young conservatives boo Trump's dismissals of Epstein questions. Online forums rage at concealed truths, loyalty phrase. Trump, in calling his own supporters weaklings, reveals the fragility of transactional loyalty. The covenant between leader and base is cracking. Foreign policy adds fuel. Isolationists warn against entanglements. Hawks demand support for Israel. Trump is pulled between base instincts and donor expectations. The result? Turmoil. This is no longer the populist uprising of 2016. It is a fractured coalition splintering under the weight of secrecy, betrayal, and conflicting agendas. The prophetic word? A house divided against itself cannot stand. MAGA may roar, but it trembles. Israeli intelligence insists Iran is near nuclear breakout. Pro-Israel hawks urge Trump to strike preemptively. Isolationists in MAGA warn, do not let foreign agendas dictate American blood. Trump hesitates, vacillates, and recalibrates. His indecision reflects deeper division. For every hawk urging action, there is a populist urging restraint. Leaks and counter-leaks flood media. Some reports say Kirk himself urged Trump not to bomb Iran for Israel's sake. Whether true or not, such claims deepen suspicion. This is how intelligence wars fracture movements. By feeding narratives, seeding mistrust, dividing allies. Information becomes ammunition, not illumination. The prophetic warning: beware foreign entanglements disguised as friendship. Empires fall when they fight wars not their own. The rumors are endless. Mossad behind Kirk's death, Epstein as spy, donors pulling strings. Facts are scarce, receipts rarer still. Yet, in the absence of truth, rumor thrives. This is democracy's Achilles heel. Secrecy invites conspiracy. Conspiracy corrodes trust. Distrust dismantles unity. Without truth, the people perish. The prophetic task is not to silence suspicion, but to demand transparency, to separate critique of policy from scapegoating of people, to name lies as lies, truths as truths. Charlie Kirk's death should not be pretext for propaganda. It should be a call to clarity. What do we know? What do we not know? What must be proven? For rumor kills liberty as surely as bullets kill men. Only truth can resurrect. America trembles in the storm of political violence, constitutional assault, division, and turmoil. Charlie Kirk's murder was the spark, but the fire was already smoldering in the fractures of MAGA, in the secrecy of Epstein, in the influence wars of Israel, in the temptations of censorship. We must grieve the dead without weaponizing their memory. We must critique foreign influence without scapegoating our neighbors. We must demand transparency without indulging conspiracy. We must defend constitutional rights without fear. The covenant of freedom requires vigilance. Let us stand in that tradition, prophetic, courageous, unbought, unbossed. For truth, even tragedy, is still the path to liberation. Once I gave solidarity without question to Israel, to allies, to narratives dressed in scripture, but age and experience teach. Covenant without accountability is idolatry. Truth without receipts is rumor. Loyalty without conscience is bondage. Now I see a movement tearing itself apart, not by enemy fire, but by secrecy, rumor, and betrayal. MAGA is not collapsing because of liberals or globalists. It is collapsing because its own house is divided by shadows. So let the prophetic voice thunder. Violence is evil. Censorship is dangerous. Zionism is not Judaism. Palestinians are human. Jews are not our enemies. And truth is our only weapon. America must choose propaganda or prophecy, division or dignity, secrecy or transparency. The choice will decide whether democracy survives the storm. Thank you very much for watching this edition of Japan Journal. I'm your host, Mal Adams. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe so that we can advise you and notify you of upcoming reports of this nature. Thank you very much and have a great day.
From GNN, the Global News Network, a division of Totown Communications Company Japan. Japan Journal. With Mal Adams. A Black Buddha Productions joint of Japan.